Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
It's The In Show, Australia's only show dedicated to innovation from Adelaide, Australia and across the globe.
It's David Grice and Troy Sincock. We're back again with another podcast, and we are talking about innovation, startups, entrepreneurs, but the common thread is, not necessarily the technology, it's the types of people that it takes to take on these big ideas and actually change the world.
Do you know what? We're discovering giants, Troy. We are discovering people that are doing such extraordinary things to make the world a better place for everybody else.
You think of all those, big names that we know, regardless of the time you lived, people like Martin Luther King and people like Nelson Mandela. It literally starts with one person and an idea, and without that, none of those things would have happened. What extraordinary change both of those people implemented. And it really is no different in the world of innovation and entrepreneurship.
Well, no, it's not. And I think the thing is that they not only had an idea, but they had the desire to make it real. And I would absolutely bet everything that those people had the people around them to help them make that happen. And I think that's what, the In Show is really about, building that community and finding innovators from all over the world that are doing great things. But it's also being able to provide a service that enables people to come together. Yeah.
Well, it just so happens that these guys were raised right here where we do the In Show in South Australia, in Barossa Valley. Scott Rogasch and his mate Justin Westhoff, together they created Forage Supply Company, creating a movement of people helping themselves and the world around them. And they're on a mission to show you that everyday things can really contribute to the environment and bring sustainability to your life. So, Scott, it's not a regular thing to see an Aussie rules player champion the environment, but what led you to work with Justin on this business?
Me and Justin both grew up in the Barossa together, as you said there, and been lifelong mates, I guess. And, we both had a passion for, I guess it started off with the homelessness side. We've both been involved with the Hutt Street Centre for over 12 years now ourselves. I did it through my sports recreation and management degree, had to do a placement there. And then, Justin just started his career, AFL career, and just jumped on board. I guess it's getting closer to the end of Justin's footy career, and we were just chatting one day about starting a business up together. And it was going to start off with just a wine company, because my parents own a bit of vineyard in the Barossa Valley. I've done a lot of travel and got a lot of passion for the environment and looking, trying to work out more sustainable ways to live. And so, we sort of looked at the wine and started doing a bit more organic wine practices, and just stumbled across this little caravan, and next minute we had a little food truck doing fully sustainable food around the Barossa Valley in South Australia.
Fantastic. So tell me, when you talk about that you developed a bit of a passion for the environment, what did that look like for you initially?
Yeah, well, I guess the big point for me was when I was actually doing my dive masters in Honduras. I got to spend 3 months there diving and speaking to the locals, and they were just explaining what the corals was like 20 years ago and to what it is now. And it got to a point to we're really the problem here. And over a lot of travel through Europe, Southeast Asia, they're a lot more switched on, I guess, with the environment side and doing a lot more things, even recycling and all that. It's sort of built into their culture a bit more, I feel. And I've just found you come back to Australia and I don't know if we have got the education on it or we're just not up to scratch with it. So I just wanted to bring a few things that I learnt from over there and bring it back over here and just showcase different ways to create a more sustainable future. So it was more just I guess a big passion I saw, and a lot of our ideas and thoughts come from overseas and different countries and how they do it, and even just through the food we eat. A lot of countries in Southeast Asia and Europe, it's sort of lots of fruit and veg and small amounts of sustainable meat. So, it's sort of instead of meat and veg and meat, where I feel Australia's a bit, we're very much big, got to eat the big steaks and a little bit of veg. If we might have had a bit more understanding on the impact it's having on the environment, we might be able to start changing our ways a little bit and not be extremists about it, but, just being able to understand the impact it can have by just changing your diet a little bit, or clothing or housing or recycling. It doesn't necessarily have to be a diet, but there is simple ways that we can all start doing small changes, and all of us together can make a big difference.
So was the sort of portion sizes of meat and vegetables one of the key learnings that you had from what you saw overseas, or were there other things that you saw that really changed the way you thought?
Mostly the fruit and veg is the easiest way that I could find personally that I could make a big impact on the environment, and most probably didn't know how much resources the animal agriculture business uses. So I started doing a lot of study, reading researchers, and again, the big thing is if you're just taking out the meats, can you get your protein, get your fibres? So I did a lot of interviews with plant-based doctors, did a lot of researches, read a lot of papers, a lot of case studies, and sort of found out that, yes, we can still have a healthy, balanced diet. And whilst doing that, it's also going to be benefiting the environment a lot more. So it makes sense that from the ground to the plate back into the soil, it just made a lot of sense that it can be a quite easy way without this big stereotype of, I guess, the word vegan. We never use that word where we don't really like it. We're just saying, hey, here's a cool, sustainable meal that if you like it, it's enjoyable, it's filling, you might be able to start substituting a bit of meat out or including it into your diet a little bit. And, yeah, go from there.
So how does the meat consume the resources? You talked about, that it's very resource-heavy, creating, the meat and that sort of thing. Yep. Can you tell us how that is? I
actually had a phone call from Chris Darwin, who's Charles Darwin's great-great-grandson, and he's just started an app called Meat Free or something. And he did a bit of a study as well on sort of how much land you use, how much water you use, how much greenhouse gases. So the land you're using land to grow food for your cattle and that. So it's, a lot of wheat, etc. for that. You're using a lot of water to water all that. Then you've got to feed the land for the cows themselves, and then you've also got to water them as well. And then obviously the greenhouse gas emissions that they're using through methane and that. So I think we figured out one typical American hamburger to one of our meals, you save 519 litres of water, 2.24 square metres of land, and 1.134 kilograms of greenhouse gas emissions.
Wow.
So since we've started, we've been able to save over 7 million litres of water, 347,000 square metres of land, and, it just adds up through. We've served over 1,000 plant-based meals. So we're just saying everyone even just eating with us has been able to help this movement without really changing too much of their lifestyle either, where it's, some simple little things that you can actually do.
It seems to me that, it's very much about, connecting it to the individual and a person seeing a simple way that they can really contribute to the impact. Because it's not like humans don't want to assist other humans, but when it feels like you're contributing to something that's so much bigger, like a larger vision that you can't see how you're individually attached to it, it often comes up as, that sounds like a great idea, but really, am I going to have any impact at all? It's very clear what you're already achieving. How do you have everyday Australians see that?
100%. So when I first started this, I'm still not fully plant-based myself. I just adopt a plant-based diet as much as I can. So when I cook, I try to cook fully plant-based.
Yep.
But yeah, I did a social experiment where I went completely plant-based vegan for 3 months and saw the troubles that you can have when you go to your local pub. What do you have? Oh, well, we've got a veggie burger maybe. We'll take the cheese off and it's just a plain veggie burger. And so I thought, okay, well, I actually don't know how to cook plant. I don't know myself how to actually do it. So what we wanted to do is, I guess, our target market's Gen Y, Gen Z. Mm-hmm. Actually educate the kids on how to grow something and then actually how to make something out of it directly, which will be filling, which will get you your proteins, your fibres and all that. And, yeah, I guess it's that education on actually how you can make a nice, tasty meal from it, because it is still the ease. When you're shopping, you'll go chicken breast on special, let's go, spag bowls on special, my kids like it, it's easy. You can't argue, it's been how we've been brought up. But if there's ways that we can now start educating and showing them how to make these meals, it's actually quite simple. So our plan is to actually help educate people on how to make simple plant-based meals and show them how to start incorporating it. And if they can't do it, come and eat with us. We can show you the meals and we're more than happy to give you the recipes. We want kids to be learning to do it at home, want parents to have a muck around with and have some fun with some veggie lasagnas or whatever it really is you want to try.
I really like that because, you sort of think of if someone were to make a decision around, look, like I do want to make a contribution in that way, and you buy a recipe book. I mean, the amount of times that I've done that, you see the picture, I cannot wait to make this thing, it's going to be amazing. And then inevitably, like there's some ingredient or something that you don't know what it really is, it doesn't explain it, or you don't know, you get what it is, but you have no idea where to find it, and you find yourself running around to different places to find like one jar of whatever it is that you're looking for. And you get to a point where you kind of just give up and say that it's not working. That for people to be able to go, I want to be a contribution to this, and for you to sort of hold their hand through the process is extremely powerful. Very
much. Nutritional yeast, when I started, I'd never, it's a substitute sort of for your cheeses on your lasagna and that. Mm-hmm. Where do you find that? It's until you actually start looking, it's everywhere, but it's I know it's just not something you'll normally have in your cupboard at home. Mm-hmm. So, there is a lot of, it's just, trying to educate, and then I've just got it at home all the time now, so it's there. But
I love that, this idea of, Forage Supply Company has begun as almost like a hospitality pursuit that has the environmental benefits. You've got the food truck, like you said, and that kind of thing. But you're now moving into areas like well beyond food. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Me and Wesley have no experience in hospitality. We had no real interest in starting a food truck or anything. It was just more the easiest way that we could showcase your first small way of changing sustainability through diet. I guess through the growth of the business, our mission statement has sort of gone the smallest impact on the environment, greatest impact on the community. And as I said before, our target market's Gen Y, Gen Z. So we nearly became more of an education and showcasing ways to do it. So we've now gone into building school-based community gardens for the kids. So they are the guys that are going to make the change. That's the demographic coming up that they understand the consequences that, and sadly they're the ones that are going to deal with the consequences that we might leave behind. So I know, Wesley's got 3 kids himself, so he wanted to sort of showcase, make sure they got to see the same, rainforest and all that. Me, I've been, lucky to see over 70 countries around the world, do the Amazon, Machu Picchu, down Africa. I've been lucky to see all these amazing places, but we do use a lot of those resources through food. So, it's really become now to actually going to schools, and we've got 4 gardens on the go now where we go in, we build the school-based organic gardens with the kids. We teach them what's in season, how to grow something out of it. We bring in some ambassadors we've got with us. We've got a couple of guys that are fully plant-based and play cricket, a couple of wakeboarders that they've grown up on the river and want to, just help. So we go in, we educate them. What are the kids' trigger points? It's social media now, celebrities, bit of video. So we go and try and hit them with those sort of trigger points and sort of make it hipster to be environmentally adapt, I guess, or just thinking about the environment and doing some cool stuff where you can be making a difference. So definitely taken a bit of a turn. We didn't know where it was going to take us. We literally had this idea and we just thought we'd let it grow organically. And now, we're sort of focusing now on the a lot of the kids' sides as well.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about your work with the homeless, because that involves a number of things, doesn't it? Does it involve the garden side of things as well as what you're about to do within building?
Yeah, so we wanted to, I guess we sort of red flagged what the homeless were sort of eating. They're getting a lot of processed meat for breakfast and lunch, just because that's what they were getting donated. So, the homeless shelters could only do what they're getting in. So we sort of had that healthy body, healthy mind. So we wanted to start donating plant-based meals to them so they could get the same chances to have a healthy balanced diet of 5 and 2, a recommended dietary intake of fruit and veg that we all have. So since we've started, we've been able to donate 832 meals to homeless shelters across South Australia, with the big one being the Hutt Street Centre that we've been involved with now for 10 years, but also Ladder is youth homelessness in Port Adelaide, a couple around the Barossa Valley as well. So we wanted to give them the opportunity to have that healthy balanced diet. But another thing we found too is a lot of the guys there didn't have any opportunity to get any work or to get anything to put on their resume. So a lot of guys have been very successful and just had a bad breakup, and lots of reasons why they've ended up on the street. And we sort of, again, being there for 10 years, we see a lot of the guys coming in and out. So when we first started with the van, we got the Royal Croquet Club in the Fringe, was one of our first gigs. We needed clients, so me and Wesley just walked into the Hutt Street Centre and we said, whoever wants to work, we'll give them some work. So the first 15 people we hired were homeless with no experience. Me and Wesley had no experience, so Wesley started football and I was left on with this little caravan in the fridge, sort of scratching my head for a fair while. But, and the thing, I think out of those 15, 2 guys got jobs from that through having us as a referee, and 2 of them got houses.
Wow.
So we'd already made an impact on a few people's lives just through giving them an opportunity. And we've got one lady that's still with us. She's been with us for 18 months now. A couple now. And, we just want to give them some skill sets and some opportunity to get in the workforce. And, again, they're no different to you and me. I think it's something like we're all 6 weeks away from being homeless or something. So a lot of them are very successful business people or women. And, it just fall on a hard time. And, we just wanted to give them that second chance and, be a little bit of their family. And we're a pretty relaxed sort of company. We like to sort of have a bit of a laugh, but, we want to get the job done right, and we've got a product to deliver, and we want to deliver it really well. But, we also put them through our interview process. We make sure they do their, fill out sort of contracts and get them on super if they don't have it. We just kind of help them guide them through that, and then ideally, hopefully, get them back into the community.
What's so great is you've gone from working with the homeless to actually being on the verge of building homes for people. Explain to me how that step is happening.
Yeah, well, like Forage, it is I'll go back to our mission. It's the smallest impact on the environment, the greatest impact on the community. So it was in any way that we could do it. And the sustainable building is something that we're both very passionate about, and mostly long-term goal is where we wanted to end up. So, yeah, we're just about to launch another company called Box Factory, which builds modular sustainable housing and also puts we'll be able to put the homeless through a 4 or 8 week training program where we be able to get them some tickets and some qualifications, get them 4 to 8 weeks work with us to get them a skill set and find out exactly where they want to end up or what they want to be and work with them and then get them employable. So when they come into the workforce, they have their tickets, they have forklift licence, they have first aid, they have their white cards, In the long term, that's where we really want to end up. And the sustainable housing, it's the modular housing, again, very popular overseas. It's fully off-grid. You're using your wastewater turns into grey water, your batteries all into solar, and it's just building these cool little off-grid plods that you can just pop anywhere. And we'd like to look to modelling that into making affordable housing for the homeless as well.
So essentially what you're trying to do there is build not only the homes, but build a career path potentially for some of these people. So training them in skills that they may or may not already have, or you might find that somebody's already got the skills to be a carpenter but just fallen off the radar for whatever reason. That's just absolutely unbelievable. I mean, and you look at this model and how this could apply not only just in South Australia but in other states and territories around Australia, but around the world as well. I think this is just absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah, I agree. And, when it comes to, what you're creating too, it's sort of become like a lifestyle brand in some respects, hasn't it? Because if you take a look at the implications of eating in a sustainable way and then the impact that then has on the environment. But if you were living in one of these homes and eating that way, like what kind of impact could a person actually have?
Yeah, that's, the world's our limit, and it's that minimalistic approach that I think we all need to sort of start taking on board a bit, the smallest amount we can use and still live your normal lifestyle. You don't have to make these huge changes, which I think a lot of people are scared of. Yeah. It's like, I can't go there because I'm going to have to change so much, where you slowly start adapting it and you're like, it's not that. It takes 28 days to change habit. Myself, I was playing footy, I was eating schnitters every night, I was eating tea, just because I didn't have the knowledge. And I started doing it, and, one of my best mates went, he still is fully plant-based now, and he was sort of he's one of the blokes that sort of inspired us to do it. And he was the same. We're both footy players, but as soon as we sort of started to, get the understanding about it, you can realise what impacts you can have. And again, it doesn't have to be, diet is just something, that's just what we've launched at the moment, the food truck. But, we're looking at a sustainable clothing range again too, where using sustainable materials and, only buying clothing when you need it, not buying cheap material clothing that lasts, maybe one summer and you have to throw it out after 3 or 4 wears. Trying to get stuff that you can wear for your lifetime. And, again, it's just little things like that. And then you delve into, recycling, and you keep cups and everything. We are becoming a lot more conscious. Very much so. I've seen the trend now that even through the food, the guys coming through, there's a lot more people conscious in the community about the environment. But we're still a long way to go, But, these little houses, you could be, the wastewater could go into the grey water, which goes into watering the gardens, which then you go into picking, you go to making, and it goes back in, and it's just this lovely little circle. So I guess that's sort of the idea, and even bringing these little gardens into the school scheme. Canteens were the same thing. They're off-grid canteens. The kids from the gardens pick it. They start using it into their school's recesses and lunches. They start getting their 5 and 2 fruit and veg. And through all this, we're creating a more sustainable future.
Well, tell us about the impact on you personally. I get that you've had to considerably change your lifestyle, and it would be out of step with what you're building as a business if you had remained that way. What sort of personal impact has it had since you've switched to being this way?
I mean, I'm going to be honest that when I first started, I mostly didn't do it the right way. I wasn't getting the right proteins. I wasn't, I lost a lot of weight, and it mostly came back, and a lot of people going, well, you look sick. Right. And it's nearly like people wanting you to look a bit, they're like, well, look what you're doing, you're not getting your meat, And, so, almost I did get a bit crook and didn't do it properly because I wasn't eating wasn't getting my nuts, my legumes in there. I wasn't getting the energy that I should have been. And yeah, it can, if you don't do it right, I'd definitely recommend you got to go to your GP, if you want to start adopting it, even just little changes, just to make sure you are getting everything you need. And then, but once you sort of do it and you realise, you do your green smoothies in the morning and you just make sure you're eating plenty of nuts and, actually, once you've changed it, it's not too hard. And, I'll still eat a little bit of meat at weddings and whatnot. I'm, tasting Australia, people have been coming around with these lovely, dishes that, I'll still have a little delve in. I'm not, not 100% perfect, but... Yeah, it is. It's a way you can change your lifestyle pretty easy. And, it's just, we just want to showcase how to do it. And it's not that hard. It's actually not that hard. But it's quite funny because obviously a lot of my mates are footy players and, but even a lot of the guys said, oh, yeah, we've been having a lot more plant-based meals. We've been eating a couple of vegetarian meals. It's actually quite light. You feel, it's actually quite light on the stomach. You actually feel really good. You got energy. It's quite funny. That sort of stigma's already starting to change a little bit. Still caught plenty of grief, don't get me wrong, but it is just cool to sort of see some guys, mates out of the blue and be like, oh yeah, we actually have 3 or 4 vegetarian meals a day or, a week. You do have to be onto it though, you do have to make sure if you get a bit lazy and you get pretty caught up at work, which I do, you skip a few meals, you do lose a bit of energy. It's a bit of menu planning and you can be pretty right.
Have you had any hurdles along the way that you've had to overcome with this? Like, obviously engaging with homeless in the first place might have been something that people would consider being very difficult, but because of your history, that seems to have been something that's really good. But is there any hurdles that you've had to overcome?
A fair few hurdles with... Actually, here our business model is we're going to start a vegan food truck in the Barossa Valley where most of our profits are going to go back to feeding the homeless and all our employees. We're going to try to hire the homeless as all the employees. You tell that to business advisors and they just go, well, you're going to fail in the first 3 months. It's not it is not a successful business model. And don't get me wrong, we've had some pretty, it's pushed me and Westy a lot of times where we're at a music festival, we're next to a beef burger place. They've got a line up for, you can't see the end of it, and we've got 4 people going through. The hurdles of actually hitting the right crowds. We do a lot of the Barossa crowds we struggle with, but Hot Tub Wine Machine at McLaren Vale, that seems to be a great demographic for us. It's like we do smoky red bean nachos, we do like organic lentil dals, we do like pulled jackfruit sliders. It's just a bit lighter, so that demo there, we can match it. But we still find, just with the culture we've got at the moment, the big hurdle is we'll go to an event and... for us to break even is very hard because we are doing organic foods as well. So us to plate something up is very pricey. And then, we're most probably, I'd say, we've got unskilled labour in there as well. So we're nearly going for 2 to 1. So there'll be me, one of our managers, maybe one of the clients. We've still got to sort of train them up a bit. And, and the hurdle, I guess, too, with the homeless side is at the start I mostly wanted to try and help everybody. I mostly opened it up to a bit too big. So far I've hired 25 clients. Right. And with the new model we're working with now, it's mostly just working on 1 or 2. Youth homelessness too is a big thing that we want to focus towards. So not just being that Band-Aid fix, actually helping someone that both parents might be in jail or that's the only lifestyle they've sort of been brought up with. But we can actually give them that opportunity to break that cycle and then give them the opportunity to get some proper skills. Ideally, we would love to actually build houses with them and let them, get them into the community with a small house, a small garden, a successful job. They're back into the community, and then that cycle's broken. Then they have kids, and then you hear a lot of bad stuff about the Hutt Street Centre and, people there. And it shits me a bit because the businesses are all whinging about it, but I don't know if any of them have actually ever thought of how can they help contribute, maybe start looking at hiring some homeless or working. Because, yes, there will be drugs, there will be alcohol, there will be violence. And it's a sad fact of it, but if we can start working with the youth homelessness to break that cycle then, then hopefully in the long term, the homelessness side will slowly start to disappear.
What I can really hear in what you're saying is that, your commitment to the community and to people is there first and foremost, and, the business is probably behind that. I can really see how... this is a long game, isn't it? You're looking to find where your market exists in the current environment, meanwhile looking to... fundamentally change the way people operate so it creates a market for your business by teaching kids at a young age. If they come up that way, then it could be likely that in however many years' time, Forage Supply Company's food truck will be the one with a long line. Meanwhile, the one selling the beef patties are going, what just happened to my market? So there's something about what I really admire is that you're having to create everything, not only a business, but the market, and that's not having you stopped. We speak to innovators of all kinds here. What I love is that you really are genuinely innovating at every level, and as part of that is kind of what you could call social innovation. I mean, you're literally changing the way people think, and instead of looking at an existing market, you're creating something from nothing because of the vision that you have and the implications that it has. The business, the environment, and people is really admirable. Scott Rogasch from Forage Supply Company, thanks so much for joining us on the In Show.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
You can find out more. Check out foragesupply.co. On the next In Show podcast, we have got some inspirational words that are really going to light you up.
Yeah, look, I mean, Troy, we've got this city of Adelaide that is such a multicultural place, and we're seeing people from all walks of life and all around the world coming to settle and live here. But we don't really understand necessarily the difficulties it takes to actually get into a new place. And we spoke a few months ago with Janine Malcolm, who is running this hackathon that is providing ways in which refugees can find technology solutions to help them migrate into different regions. And on the next podcast, Janine shares with us a bit about how innovation is an invitation for people to collaborate.
The In Show Interview. To hear more of The In Show, subscribe to In Show on Apple Podcasts or find us at ozcastnetwork.com. A Dave and the Beanstalk production.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.